Olaying and wicked regards to those who care and dare to listen. This is once again John Lash, the main professor and founder of Nemeta, the Sophianic School of Arts and Sciences. And I'm here today on the 16th of July, 2022, with a special message for you. A message in two parts. First, a word of thanks, and second, an invitation, a unique invitation that only I can offer. And I would also say that it's a wicked proposition, and I'll get to that word, wicked, as I proceed. But first off, I will note that sometime around the 27th of June, I posted something on this YouTube channel, and I made an exception by asking you listeners to do something for me. I said at that time that there were 1,534 participants registered on the Planetary Tantra course at Nemeta, and I said that I would like to see that number go up, say 15 to 1550. Well, as I speak, it's gone to 1590, and it's growing. So I want to thank you for that response. I want to thank you for coming over from this channel to become a visitor free on Nemeta. So as you know, I sometimes preview material on Nemeta on the YouTube channel. And if you want to go to the unit on Nemeta and hear the complete talk and see text, commentaries, written material, diagrams, and illustrations that I provide, well, you are more than welcome to do so. And I thank each and every one of you who has contributed to this growth of participation in the school. I can assure you that your response has really inspired me. And I've been reflecting on how to say something, present something to you, which I'm calling a wicked proposition, in a different way than I have done so far. Actually, I've been putting out this proposition for quite a long time now, 14 years to be exact, since 2008. And I've said it in many ways. I've taken many approaches. But what I'd like to do now is refer to something, a phenomenon in the world today, and to show you, if I can, how this phenomenon matches another phenomenon. You might have heard it said that there's a war going on this planet. Sometimes it's described as a battle for the narrative. Sometimes it's described, and I have done this, as the battle of the globalist overlords and psychopaths and the criminal mafia against good, decent, honest, and ordinary people. There are many ways to describe this battle, but on this occasion I'm going to say that it's a battle between two games. And I can say with confidence that there are two games operating in the world today in the social order, and that both of these games are extremely powerful. And the outcome, the ultimate outcome of each game is really the ultimate outcome of the human experiment here on Earth, the divine experiment, as I've also called it. So what are these two games? Well, one of them you've heard about. I'm assuming everyone knows what MMORPG stands for. It stands for massively multiplayer online role-playing game, right? It has the word player and playing in it. So MMORGs are video games, interactive online video games. And they are quite the rage these days and have been for some time. Now, I'm really poorly informed about these matters, so I actually had to go on the internet and look up, for instance, what are, say, the 10 most popular of such games. I don't think you can actually pronounce that acronym, can you? No. But let's just call it the morgues for the purpose of convenience. So what are the morgues? Well, according to this site, the most popular morgue right now is called Lost Ark. And that has something like 17 million players. And it has a daily account of about 1.7 million players, okay? So then there is Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn, and that has 30 million players. The World of Warcraft, which I have heard of, has 120 million players. Old School, RuneScape, Path of Exile, Star Citizen, Destiny 2, Warframe, Guild Wars 2, and RuneScape, The Elder Scrolls Online, and more. Black Desert Online. So, it's remarkable, it's notable, of course, that quite a number of the names of these morgues contain the word war. And whoever the players are, they must be attracted in some way to be involved in some kind of war. But hold on there a minute. There is a war going on in the world, in the theater of human society. There is a war for the future of humanity going on. And what do these interactive video game wars have to do with that war? Well, they're a big part of that war because they represent the frontier of the virtual. And they offer the opportunity to those who are so attracted, and I will consider what attracts them, the opportunity to engage imaginatively and virtually in a war scenario. But again, it begs the question, well, why would you, or why would anyone want to engage in a virtual fantasy war scenario when the whole totality of the human race is living in a very real war scenario at this moment in real time? Well, obviously the answer is for escapism. When you look at the realm of gameplay, as it's called, virtual gameplay, I think any sane person would draw the conclusion or make the observation that these games provide a form of escapism from real life into a simulation of life, which is embellished with all kinds of fantasy figures and monsters, in some cases alien beings, and all kinds of enemies. And apparently, there are hundreds of millions of people of all ages every day who prefer to engage in that fantasy war scenario, perhaps so that they don't have to pay attention to the real war that's happening and the real war that's threatening their lives, whether they know it or not. So, how can I introduce you to an entirely different dimension and dynamic of gameplay that stands against these events, these programs, these virtual interactive scenarios? Well, as much as I would like to be fast and furious with you and brief with you, I figure it's going to take me a few talks to deliver this message to you in this new framework that I'm attempting. And getting back to my gratitude for those who came over to Nemeta, in turn, I'd like to offer you a special opportunity to go and listen to a talk on Nemeta, which is called In the Beauty of Anthropic Dreaming. And you can find that talk on the Planetary Tantra page if you scroll down and look at the units that are contained in the page. And by the way, when you register, once you register as a guest and you go to Planetary Tantra, you have to click Take Course, or if you have been there already, you have to click Continue Course in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, and then you can go down and click on the unit with the title, In the Beauty of Anthropic Dreaming. Now, I invite you all to take an hour out of your life when you have the right moment and listen to that entire talk. It is actually the 118th talk I did in a 3-year experiment I conducted called the Gaia Navigation Experiment. And it is the last talk in that project. And yet, it is a place for you to begin to have a background in what I'm going to tell you now about what I could call the ultimate opportunity of gameplay. And to give it a name, I'm going to call it the Motherdream. Motherdream being one word. So suppose that you went to this list of morgs, which are online adult fantasy games, and lo and behold, to your great surprise, you found at the top of the list the Motherdream. But that is not a virtual reality game. It is an in-life, real-life, real-time role-playing game. So the battle between the games, the war of the games, is the war between the morgs and the Motherdream. Now, actually, I have quite a lot to say about the Motherdream, and some of it, in some of what I say, you'll recognize things I've said before. For instance, I've said that life, your life as an individual, and the life of everything that lives on the earth, including human, non-human animals, including plants, the rivers, mountains, clouds, the skies, is a dream. But you are not the dreamer. You are in a dream, but you are not the dreamer. And I have said many times who the dreamer is. I've described the source of that dreaming power extensively. In doing so, I go back to the great narrative, the great and unique and transcendent narrative that comes from the ancient mysteries. And we receive it through the legacy of the Gnostic teachers. And that dream, which I call the fallen goddess scenario, has been described, I have described it in many ways. But on this occasion, I'm making a comparison that I've never made before. Now there's a unit connected with this talk, which is a preview about to end. And that unit is titled The Motherdream. So once I've uploaded this talk, you can go to Planetary Tantra and look at the unit. And you'll find quite a bit of text on there. I'll get into that in the remainder of this recording, and perhaps 2 or 3 others. But you will find prominently a display of 2 columns. One column is titled Actual, that's on the left. The other is titled Virtual, that's on the right. And there are 2 levels within these columns. The first level describes the structure and function and result of gameplay with a morgue. And the second level describes in parallel terms the structure and functions and result of gameplay with the Motherdream. So for instance, in the top compilation, on the left, player, 1. There has to be a player. And on the right, 2, in the virtual, there has to be an avatar. So I'm talking about the fundamental structure of every morgue. There is the player, the real biological living human animal. And then there is the avatar of the player in the virtual. So what I'm doing here, and you can follow it better if you look at the text in that unit, is that I'm setting out 8 features of a morgue in 2 columns. Some of the features belong to the player, the real living human animal, and some belong to the avatar. For instance, feature 1, the player has a console and a remote control. Now go to the right side, virtual. 2, there has to be a virtual setting on a screen. Of course, that's part of the console, but that's the part of the console where the player in real life sees the virtual action unfold. 3, there are the active functions of the player, the things that he or she can control using the remote, using joystick or whatever devices they use. Then again, go to the column of the virtual. 4, there are the scenes that are produced and enacted by working these functions, working the control. Back again to the player. The player faces challenges in the game. The player is interested in the game because it presents some kind of set of challenges, adventures, and tests. Now go to the 6th factor. In the virtual on the screen, you see these tests illustrated. There are settings, there are actors in these settings, including NPCs, non-player characters, which are equivalent to extras in a movie. And there are levels of the game, and all of that is portrayed virtually on the screen. And the player, the real human player, is present in that setting as an avatar. Finally, the 7th factor of the player is gaming skills. So the player has skills, learns how to work through the levels, meet the tests, meet the adversaries, and so forth. And the results of that in the virtual are scores or treasures they gain or levels of access to a more complicated version of the game. So that in 8 factors, 8 features, sums up the total structure of a morgue, which is an event of interaction between a player who is a real live human animal and a virtual player, the avatar, in a virtual setting. So now, if you go to the lower column, when you go to the unit, you see that I present a set of parallel factors, 8 factors, but they don't belong to the morgue, or morgue. Morgue is an interesting trope, not inappropriate. The 8 factors in the lower columns belong to the Motherdream. And so there is a set of exact counterparts. And I present this to you as a way to show you how to play the Motherdream according to your understanding of how morgues are played. And when you have that understanding, when you have that knowledge and that comparison, well, then you're on the threshold of a wicked proposition.